Hello everyone, this is Dr. Janet PIedilato. I am the author of the Mystical Dream Tarot, and I'm also the moderator of Dream Chats, which is on Zoom every Friday night, and Imaginal Drumming every Tuesday night, Eastern Time in the United States. I want to welcome you all to a short little session on not just the Mystical Dream Tarot, but its imagery and its importance in dreaming. And what is dreaming, actually? What do you think it is? For most of us, people would probably define dreaming as that which happens at night when they lay their head upon the pillow and they go to sleep. They may begin in the morning by sharing with a spouse or a friend, in the dream last night, I went somewhere, I met someone, I saw something. And in this dream, they have a series of experiences which may seem chaotic or normal, which may seem to predict something that's about to happen, or perhaps to tell something that did happen. Perhaps they meet someone that has passed away and it's a dream of great communication. But once again, they look at dreams and dreaming as that which happens during night, during their sleep. And I'm here to tell you that I define dreaming in a different manner. Dreaming for me is placing the focus on an inner landscape of the imaginal, a place where in mental imagery we see things, we feel things, and we have an experience with our focus that's inward, not on the external reality around us. So consciousness for me can extend beyond waking consciousness and the senses and rational understanding. Consciousness during our waking hours is guided by the body's ability to act and react in the physical world, where we need to drive a car and see there are other cars on the road. We need to know what the rules are, where we need to stop, which side of the road we're supposed to drive on. If we're putting our feet on the ground and we come to a stairway, our physiology allows us to move and elevate upon the stairs. We act and react to the physical environment, and our senses bring in. If it's raining outside, we need an umbrella, we need a raincoat, we need to be more careful. If it's snowing, we have to put boots on. We react by our ability to reason and understand what we are meeting and how we react to it. But that's our reaction to a physical world around us, and that's waking consciousness. But there's another state of consciousness when we direct our focus and intention inwardly, and I like to look at this inward focus as entering and reacting to an imaginal landscape. So by virtue of our imagination, the ability to form mental imagery, we are able to see things on the landscape of our mind internally, and we're able to act and react in the physical world, perhaps by manifesting something in a very new way. If we had a problem at work and we couldn't solve it, we might have a dream that may put together the pieces of the puzzle in a unique and new way, and we come about a discovery, and we know many discoveries happen in this way. But that imaginal landscape can be entered into in many different ways, and only one of those ways is when we go to sleep at night and we have a dream. Our consciousness drops into what we call alpha theta, and during this state of consciousness we experience mental imagery, which I call entering the imaginal. It's not the only time we dream. We can have a waking dream, and either that waking dream can be spontaneous, like the prophets and visionaries that can be experiencing waking reality, and all of a sudden they're seeing something on a mental landscape that shows them and tells them about something that is not physically present. So they may have a vision, and a vision could be anything, anywhere, and it could be spontaneous. That's still a waking dream. They can, on the other hand, choose to enter into that dream state of consciousness. Certainly, as a transpersonal psychologist, I bring people into what I call a waking dream. And it is entering the imaginal to either re-enter a dream that they had at night, at which point we can look at that dream in novel ways, and if we needed to have resolution that the dream at night did not present, we have the opportunity by altering our consciousness through a hypnotic technique in a service of trying to come to a resolution and a better understanding of the waking dream. So as a therapist, I can call it hypnosis. I might use the word shamanic journeying. Now, shamanism does refer to specific tribal communities where a medicine person or a dreamer enters into a waking dream or a dream at night, the state of consciousness of entering into dream, in service of his community, in service of healing, of understanding, of getting knowledge that will be helpful to the community that the shaman serves. And it was about in the 15th century that anthropologists met a group of people in Siberia whose medicine man was called a shaman. And we know from many cultures all over the world, through many different landscapes and time periods, tribal communities to this day still honor the process of altering the state of consciousness in order to come to information that is going to be healing and helpful to someone in their community. So shamanic journeying merely means for an individual to move their consciousness, to journey into the focus within in order to receive some sort of information. But it's an imaginal landscape because the imagery is formed inside oneself as opposed to the external environment. So shamanism is one of the ways, but entering the imaginal in any case, whether it is a shamanic journey, whether it is hypnosis, whether it's a spontaneous vision, whether it's an intentional re-entering, altering one consciousness to go to a waking dream, or whether it is a trance state that people who do mediumship enter into for the purpose of meeting and communicating with a being who has passed over. It's the same space. It's imaginal. Something physical is not happening in front of us to react to a physical environment, as we would consider this our waking consciousness. It is the dream consciousness. So when I use that term, entering the imaginal, it is a net that covers a wide expanse of different types of rituals of different peoples all over the world who all seek information, healing, and access to focusing inwardly on a mental landscape in order to get this information in some sort of helpful manner. Now, I also believe that the dreams we have at night, which are quite spontaneous, and many of us don't remember, usually come to be of service to us in our daily life. They're not meant for fantasy, the same way that, yes, we can enter into fantasy on the imaginal quite easily. We can buy a lottery ticket, and it's several $1,000,000, and we may sit in our car, and our life may be tough, and we may have financial problems, and suddenly we are dreaming. We are in a state where we are imagining that we won that money and what type of house we would live in, and we wouldn't have our worries and our bills. Or we're a young teenager who's watched a rock star and is imagining a date with this rock star. So when we go into that imaginal landscape, I want to make it clear that it's not always wisdom, it's not always greater understanding. We can sometimes go in and what the ancient Greeks used to call the gate of deceit, the gate of ivory, is one of fantasy. So right at the get-go, we know that it's a very powerful state inwardly where we're focusing on a mental landscape where lots of images are coming, we're walking on a landscape, we're working with different beings and people who act in a very different manner from waking reality. We have ability to fly, we have ability to shapeshift, we can get on the back of a bird, and we can move and see the landscape from an aerial view. Things that we can't do with our physical reality. We can't fly on that magic carpet, but we can within the imagination. And while people who work with me, when they begin to see active imagination of going on this landscape, often will say to me, but isn't it just my imagination? And I will laugh, because I will say to them, it is your imagination, your faculty that allows you to focus inwardly. But don't ever say just, because it's a gift that allows you to see beyond the limits of the physical reality. People like Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr, people that have created magnificent advances in science and beauty and music and literature, have often gone into this imaginal dream state, whether through a waking dream or one that comes at night, to access deeper wisdom that bubbles up from the depths within us. So it is a great ability. And I'd like to move on now, once we understand that this is what consciousness means, and entering into the imaginal merely means a shift of consciousness, not to what's in front of our eyes, but what's accessed within us. We can use this to help us move forward and to find the wisdom that's inside the dream and inside each and every one of you. Now, I'd like to share a screen, as opposed to my trying to take cards and put them up and see if you can see them or not see them. I think a shared screen will help us to better see what I'm going to be speaking about. So if we look at the screen, you can see the Mystical Dream Tarot, which is my tarot that basically is a set of 78 images. And on each one of the cards, as opposed to your conventional tarot, each has enormous amount of images. And the words that are written are there for people who are conventional readers who would like to use this as a tarot, as they've used probably the many other hundreds and thousands of decks that's out there. And that's fine. They need to know nothing else. If they react to the imagery, that's fine in their mind, but they already know that they use the cards in a very conventional, traditional manner. That's fine. But where my tarot is different is that each one of these cards is based on dreams that I have. And while they probably were put together over a period of 10 years, I have to come forward and say those images were in me much longer than that. I've dreamed since I was a child. I've journaled my dreams since childhood, and those images were images of beings and places that I met along the road of my inner landscape in the imaginal. So these are images that all bubbled up from dreams my entire life. But yes, they were collected from a period of about 1988 to about 1999, and they have now manifested in the Mystical Dream Tarot. Now, each card has a different image, and I can tell people who don't understand normal tarot that they don't need to learn and memorize the 78 cards. They just need to react to the images that rise, and each one of those images will begin to speak and say something that's unique for each person. So when we begin with these images, and we move into a landscape that says we're on one image at a time. This is the first card, and this is a card I call the Innocent. I'd like each and every one of you to look at the card. While there is a book that comes with the cards, that book tells you a bit about what thoughts I had during the creation of this card. But what's the beauty of the system is that within each and every one of you, you have the vocabulary of what these images mean to you. For some, you will see that winding serpent, and immediately you will react to it. You'll see the orb on the top of the pillar, and that orb will say to you, something is about to develop, something is about to come and to be born. There's an image of a jade pillar, and the jade pillar within the Egyptian system represents that stability and backbone of the great Egyptian god Osiris. For us, as we begin to look at our dreams, this is a great card to begin with. I tell people when they have a dream at night, they can take a card like this, and I will stop the share for a moment. They can take that card, which you've now had a better look at, and we can pull two cards to put by the side of our bed. And if before we go to sleep, this is the card that we have, this is the first card of the tarot deck, that says something. We ask for a dream, and in that dream we ask that we might remember our dream if we haven't remembered dreams before that. And in order to help us, we've pulled two cards out of 78 cards. And from those two cards, what will happen is they will help us to share what the dream is all about. This will be a card, let's say, at the beginning. And then the second card is the card that we pick when we wake up in the morning. We can turn it upside down at night before we go to sleep. If in fact I went to sleep and I had a puzzling day at work and I had an issue that I wasn't able to resolve completely, and before I go to sleep I know that I'm going to have many images and experience rise, I want to know if there's something I might be able to do to help me to solve the puzzle. And so I draw two cards. If this is the first card, this is a card of a new beginning. This is the first card of the tarot deck, often considered the fool, but I call it the innocent. Tabula rasa. It's a tablet that is completely cleared. Already, without even beginning a dream, I've asked the question, I need some help. I have a problem I'm not working out at work. I need to solve this problem. Help me in the dream. And this is the first card that says a new road, a new beginning. Immediately in my mind, I'm saying, perhaps I need to think this issue from a completely different point of view. Maybe I'm looking at it from one direction, and I may have to clear that plate like a tabula rasa, like a completely empty slate, and begin again. My rational mind may not like that. I may have put a lot of time into this particular way of working with the issue, but it's already shown me it's not working. Now I go to sleep, I have a dream, or I don't have a dream, and I wake up in the morning, and this is the next card. And this card is showing me a dreamer and a doorway that's open, a portal that's open. Well, now, isn't that interesting? Because whatever my dream was, if I had the dream, it's showing me by the cards, this is going to be a new way of looking at something, and I am going to get it through that altered state of dreaming. It means if I'm looking at something from a very left brain way, if I'm trying to decide something very mathematically and logically, I need to open up the windows and doors. I need to let in some fresh air, and I need to let things go a little bit more loosely so that I might see more and understand more. And of course, if I had a dream that night, it helps me to see that something in that dream would have been a hint. Let's say I dreamt about my mother making an apple pie. And in that dream, for me personally, the mother is great love. The apple pie, my favorite. And apples. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's healthy. All right, what does that have to do with what I'm working on during the day? Is there a health issue that's involved in the project? Is there something that is going to cut it all down to one thing which is going to make it work? The apple pie, the one thing that makes it work, is a great apple. So we look at it and try to see how the images that we saw pre and post the dreaming would help. And in this case, even if we didn't have a dream, the first card is showing us that very definitely we need to think a little differently. This is a new road, a new path, a new birth. And the card in the morning is saying it's the imaginal realm. We're going to have to go within. And so here we have a set of tarot cards, which is helping us with dream. And why not? Because the image is the way, it's the language of transcendence. It's the language of the psyche. And the more that we look at the images, the more that we begin to really understand what our life is about. Here we see the dreamer, and there's the doorway that says, through the altered state of consciousness, loosen up, get rid of the walls that give you boundaries. After all, isn't this the way that great discoveries are made? You know, isn't this the way that Niels Bohr, who couldn't understand what the atom was, dreams about the center of the universe with the sun and the planets running around it, and wakes up and says, the nucleus in the center of the atom and all the electrons are running around it, just like the sun and all of the planets. Isn't it like the great father of organic chemistry, Kekulé, who cannot figure out what benzene's structure is? And he's a biochemist. And in the dream, in that dream state, he sees a circling around, the Ouroboros circling around. And what is this telling him? Voila, we have a circular structure. And he is the father of organic chemistry. And it wasn't based on his rational mind. In fact, his rational mind couldn't figure out. But the intuitive, dreaming, imaginal mind brought forward the information that was going to help him. So we rise within ourself. And as I said, with the cards, we use the cards to help us, to bring us into the images. We rise on the tree of life. And here we have the individual rising freely on those limbs, like a shaman who travels to the upper world seeking wisdom. We travel within. And this card embodies a dream, embodies that purpose of going within, so that what we have inside, in the cocoon, that caterpillar, is ready to expand its wings and bring us further in our understanding. It is consciousness. It is the imaginal realm of consciousness which can elevate and help us. And by moving within ourselves, whether it's a meditative practice, whether it's a practice of mediumship, whether it's using hypnosis or shamanic journeying, or dreaming at night, or re-entering the dream, each one of the processes brings us to focus inwardly. And the cards of the mystical dream tarot are there as an aid, to aid us in what we see and what lies within. We crack open the egg that's inside, waiting for us. Each night we have a dream, and like an egg, the dream needs to be broken open so that we see what its meaning is. By putting cards by the side of our bed, by looking at these cards, it gives us a key. And it gives us a key to understand that what often looks chaotic in the dream actually is not chaotic. It has deep meaning, and it's there to help us, to move us forward, so that the things that are perplexing and complex and challenging and puzzling in our waking life can find solutions in the dream state, can help us to move forward and see further. The Ouroboros that is eating his tail is telling us there's cycles in our life. Past, present, and future are all part of us, and we carry it always. But if we are only focused on our external reality, we'll never open that door. And like an elephant can forge the way through the worst forest, and he can open up the space for us to go through. But if that elephant stands in front of us, he blocks our entrance and doesn't allow us to go forward. Is this what we want? Do we want to keep the rational mind like an elephant blocking the way? The rational mind is great. It serves us in our ability to act and react and function and navigate in waking reality. But when we come to those problems, those challenges that need more, it can block us from seeing that more that is present inside ourselves. We are our own house, and there are steps to go in us. And each one of the cards from the Mystical Tarot helps us to ascend those steps and look at what I call the house of many rooms, which is our house. It's who we are. It's the fabric of our being. And it's larger and it's greater than anything that we imagine in waking reality. It is for us that globe in the sky with the wisdom that's waiting to help and share in waking reality what the secrets are in the depths of our being. And sometimes those secrets are the thieves that steal us from going forward, those secrets that we hold inside ourselves as false myths, thinking that we can't do certain things and we're crippled in certain ways, and this is the way life is, so we mustn't go any further. These are myths we hold about ourselves, and we need to go inside to understand those myths, because unless we know ourselves, we will never get further. We will never be able to see what the inside, the lady within, which is the interior voice of wisdom that's inside each and every one of us in the imaginal realm. And that imaginal realm is closing the eyes to the outer focus, focusing on the inside, but yes, bringing that voice back to marry it with the rational, so that we don't do irrational acts, but that we act with full consciousness of both the imaginal realm and the external realm. We need to focus on all so that we get those gems of wisdom that's inside each and every one of us. And these cards show us that and help us move through each and every step, if only we allow, if only we listen to the voice. We will know ourselves. We will look in the mirror of our life, because the dreams come for a reason. Our visions come for a reason. They are not flights of fancy. They are intelligent, intuitive communication that lets us mirror our waking reality. I say to individuals, this dream and its complex story, do you think it's just chaos? Or is it reflecting something as patterns in your waking life, or patterns in something that's very present right now? Look at it. Listen to that voice. Let that voice guide you. Grow within it. Have a relationship, because once you know yourself, there is nothing more important. Each one of the images that rise, and each one of these images came in dream. They belong to each and every one of us. And if we allow the elephant to block our way, then we are blocked. And whether we want an act of creativity, whether we're writers and we have writer's block, whether we have a scientific project or a thesis work or a life event, we can't go forward if we allow something to block us. Wouldn't we rather that that great elephant that's here from the dream has on his lap a vehicle to fly beyond and help us move? The key is whether or not we bother to go within. Do we really look at our life and try to discern what are the cycles of what we repeat over and again? What does the dream tell us? We go within ourselves to awaken that great butterfly, but that butterfly must grow so that we have the sword that breaks through the egg inside us, our egg of creativity, our egg of wisdom, our egg that's going to bring us forward. And if we pay attention to the dreams, if we look at them not as fancy of the night, but as something of voices within us that are trying to come and help us, then we can look at the cards and we could say, what is the card telling us? We pull two cards. We shuffle the cards, and at night We pull two randomly. One is our beginning. Whatever we're asking, obviously something new is coming, something we don't know about yet. But are we blocked? Is the elephant in us that is thick and like concrete and like a bull blocking us from moving forward? Or are we open so that the vision that comes in the imaginal realm leads to that doorway above, that doorway where we have shining lights, that doorway where the stars are saying something new, if we only allow it to come. So for each and every one of you, I would just like to say, watch your dreams. We have the Dream Chats every Friday night, 7:30 to 9 o'clock Eastern Time in the United States on Zoom. I'm Dr. Janet PIedilato, and I would welcome you. And if you're looking to empower your dreams or to do some card reading, and you want to do it as a regular tarot, or you would prefer to use your intuitive sense and act and react to the images that came through my dreams and continue to be present to inform and invite each one of us to find meaning, then check out the Mystical Dream Tarot. Let it help and guide you, and let it speak to you, because for each and every one of us, the language of the dreams is the language of the image, and each and every one of us has within ourselves the ability to interpret that image in view of our own lives. We stand in the water of time, and each time that we move into those waters, we are a different person, and so are the waters. And so those images will shift, and they will continue to offer and guide and support as our lives change. They are not static, and we are the best judge to look at them, if only we'll allow their voice to speak and we don't block them. So this is Dr. Janet PIedilato, author of the Mystical Dream Tarot and the moderator of Dream Chats and Entering the Imaginal Drumming on Tuesday nights in the U.S. Check it all out online. I hope to see you and join you with all of our discussions on dreams and entering the imaginal through the Mystical Dream Tarot and through your dreams. Blessings to each and every one of you during these challenging times. May you each be safe and be guided by all the loved ones around you. Watch your dreams and know that there's plenty of guidance inside yourself to help you carry those challenges and move on to the future. Blessings to each and every one of you.